In this video, I had the chance to talk to Tommy Zee, who not only makes a living from music, but runs a company where he employs other people that also make a living with music. And the way they do this is they make music for brands in advertising. And so in this video, we talk a lot about how the industry works, how much people get paid, and also how you can break into it too. So let's get into it. Hope you enjoy.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on, first of all. Really appreciate it. It's cool to meet you. Me and my family, and I'm not talking about my blood family, but my inner circle, we're big fans of your channel.
Thanks,
just
man.
the authentic way you approach these things. It just doesn't feel like, it's too produced, whatever. It's real life. We're big fans of that. So yeah, thanks for having me. And who am I? Well, they call me Tommy Zee. That's not my real name, but the judge will know me by a different name. And the government and the tax man. But Tommy Zee is the name I adopted because my last name is actually unpronounceable by the human tongue. So when I told people my last name, they said, why don't you just be Tommy Zee? And I said, okay, I think that'll be best for everybody. So I am Tommy Zee. I'm a music producer who is responsible for delivering music made from scratch, which could be songs, scores, or sounds for big brand campaigns. And I've been doing this just over a decade now. And the interesting thing is I actually used to have a corporate career as a banker. It was actually living a double life because I was a DJ in my 20s, playing at some of Toronto's biggest nightclubs, but I was also a banker by day. So, as I got into my late 20s, it became kind of unbearable trying to play 4 nights a week at different clubs in Toronto and then trying to get up in the morning and pretend that I know what the meetings are about on the 27th floor of some skyscraper on Bay Street in Toronto. Bay Street, for those who don't know, is kind of like Wall Street, the Canadian Wall Street. So I didn't see my future as a DJ because I already saw glimpses of superstar DJs in Toronto who became postmen, or they became IT support guys, when their glory days were over. And I didn't see myself as a star on stage either. I was already involved in music production. So I was doing remixes for labels. I was licensing my tracks to different compilations around the world. Back then, you could actually make money doing that. You could license your track to a compilation in Spain, let's say, and maybe you might make a grand or two off of that. But it was so irregular, all of that, it was so up and down that I really held on to my corporate gig because I'm not really I can't really see myself making a living off of music. And it wasn't until a friend of mine actually asked me if I would score a campaign for Pontiac Aztek, which I believe to be probably the world's ugliest car. If anyone's ever seen the Pontiac Aztek. But I didn't much care about that. What was interesting to me is that I never really connected my music making activity with the fact that, there are commercials and they need music. I never actually thought about it. Who makes music for these commercials? I was just really focused on the traditional ways of making a living with music, which was, either get a record deal or remix something for a fee, or license something to a compilation, or try to sell your music to people. But even back then, it was already that was the day of Napster. Those were the days of Napster. So already the idea of paying for music was not so, it was it's time to find a different way because people are basically getting their music for free.
Yeah. And
so this was the first time when I did this Pontiac Aztek thing. I spent probably 2 days on it. We had some feedback from the client. I spent maybe another 2 hours on it. all in all, I spent like 2 evenings and maybe another 2 hours on revisions. And that was that. And then I got the paycheck like 3 weeks later. And it was like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a shocker to me. Like it was at least 2 months of my salary at a full-time job, which was basically sucking the life out of me. In exchange, this paycheck for sitting a couple of nights in the studio, which I was doing already anyway for free. So to me, it was like, hey, is this thing happening regularly? Like, is this a thing? You know? And I realized it's a thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny looking back on it now because I realize how many musicians don't realize it's a thing.
Yeah.
They probably think it's like, oh, yeah, they probably license something or they probably look in a stock bank, which is absolutely not true. Yes, once in a while, brands will license Ed Sheeran or Pharrell or whatever.
Yeah.
But you got to think about the fact that it's not sustainable for them to be able to license Ed Sheeran and Pharrell and Miley Cyrus and whoever else they decide to license.
Yeah, because I would imagine that licensing a song is like significantly more expensive than hiring someone to do it from scratch.
That's right. So once in a while, they'll do this like huge thing where they'll borrow the light of a star, pay them a lot of money. When I say them, I mean their label, their publisher. But most of the time, like I would say at least 90% of the time, all of this content that brands are generating, and you're talking about billions of dollars of expenditures on marketing. Yeah. Billions. And millions of that go to music, and a lot of that music is actually made from scratch. And this has been going on for decades. Like when I joined the business in year 2006, I believe. It was already a thing for many decades before then. Yeah. There were special companies, studios set up to create music for commercials. There were all sorts of freelance musicians that were totally plugged into that business, and that's how they were making their living. Like in the 80s, somebody would come into the studio, bang out like a 4-note thing, and that would be like the McDonald's jingle, and they would be getting paid forever, like thousands of dollars, I think the good old days are gone where you could like become a millionaire off of commercials, but it's certainly true, and I'm living that life, that there are countless musicians around the world who create music for commercials as a full-time career. Yeah. And I know because I'm working with them, and we actually feature them in our academy and in our community, constantly bringing in the pros. And the first question I ask is like, do you have a day job? No. How do you support yourself? I create demos all day, sometimes night, for all these brand campaigns. I get paid a demo fee for it. And if the demo lands, you get a final fee, which is significantly higher. And that's how they live off of music. So you asked me to talk about myself, but I veered onto all sorts of tangents.
No, that's good.
The summary is this. Former corporate guy, quit my job, discovered the world of music and brands, which was quite hidden. But then I realized like there's a whole industry that exists to create music from scratch, songs, scores, sounds for brand campaigns. I joined the business 15 years ago. I started my career in Toronto. 3 years later, after actually getting into the business, I met a girl in Europe. I fell in love with her. I left my life in North America, moved to Europe, ended up in Amsterdam, of all places, as a creative director of one of the finest music production companies in the world of music and brands. And I was in Amsterdam for 5 years working on some really huge campaigns with big brands and agencies and film directors. And then I decided to leave Massive and start my own company called Tommy Zee & Co., which is less about being massive and more about being boutique doing some really remarkable, crafty stuff with people that I like, basically.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to be huge. We're trying to do things that we like with people that we like. And that's in a nutshell. And we're also the only music production company that teaches people the ins and outs, the arts and the craft of making a living, making music for brands. So that's in a nutshell.
So from if someone like, Nike or something is like, hey, I'm making this commercial. We're going to have we're going to get this actor to go like jump in a swimming pool full of shoes or whatever. And they can come up with whatever their ad is. How does that eventually flow down to the individual artist making the music? Like I would imagine that the Nike is not reaching out to Tommy Zee. Well, maybe Tommy Zee directly, but maybe not Bill the music maker who makes music at home directly. I would imagine there's some big chain of kind of command that goes through.
Yes. Although I would say that we are now living at a time that if you are doing something very, very interesting and you have a following on YouTube or Instagram, don't be surprised if a brand hits you up directly.
Right.
Don't be surprised if that happens. But majority of the cases, yes, there is a process, and the process is pretty much the same every single time. And here it is. The brand, believe it or not, doesn't do anything. So like when you think about Red Bull, they don't even make the drink. That's the first thing I got to tell you guys to like open your eyes to understand what is a brand and like what is the role of a brand. The role of a brand like Red Bull is not to manufacture sugar water with caffeine. That's what some kind of a separate company does without a sign on a factory. They manufacture the cans with the liquid inside. The job of Red Bull is to create a mythology, a story, an aura, a certain frequency that will make you say, I got to have the Red Bull and not the no-name stuff. So Red Bull is not in the business of manufacturing energy drinks. They are in the business of manufacturing stories that are going to move you. This is why instead of like someone from Red Bull sitting at an assembly line going, are we doing a great job with these drinks? The Red Bull employees are instead organizing huge extreme sport events, huge stunts with people jumping off of planets. I don't know what you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, like that stunt where they, did the highest skydive in history, and they're always doing like X Games sports things.
All that stuff, right? They were also heavily involved in music, Red Bull Music Academy. So it's all building a story. It's not about the drink. So that's what a brand does. So let's say, going back to your question, that Red Bull marketing team wants to grab the attention of us in some way. And so they want to create a campaign. They will actually go and select from a list of agencies, advertising agencies, probably bigger ones because it's the bigger agencies that serve the bigger brands. Mm-hmm. And they will say to these ad agencies, guys, we're looking for a creative partner. Submit your ideas. And then whoever gives us the best ideas for the next 2 years, we will make you an agency of record. It's sort of how they pick the agency. Okay. So these agencies start battling, they're trying to basically outdo themselves and battle each other in coming up with the best idea of how Red Bull should tell their story, what kind of stunts they should pull, what kind of maybe celebrities they should hire, basically like big picture ideas about the creative concepts. Yeah. Then Red Bull selects one of the agencies and goes, okay, agency A, we really love your vision for Red Bull for the next 2 years. Let's sign a contract. Here's $1 billion. You guys are going to be thinking up and executing all of the ideas for us. So brands don't even actually come up with ideas a lot of the time. It's an ad agency, an advertising agency that will do it. So then the ad agency will have the first campaign idea to be rolled out in the next, let's say, 90 days. And so they will think of the idea. But now the ad agency is actually not the one who does anything other than come up with ideas. Okay?
Yeah.
So the ad agency will then in turn need somebody to actually execute the idea. So that's when they start choosing all of their creative partners. So let's say that they want to film some incredible campaign for Red Bull, really well shot with really exciting music. The ad agency will then go out to a number of different film production companies and they will say, hey guys, we want to shoot this incredible spot. Here is the idea that we have, and here is the storyboard. And we want you to start writing a treatment for this. So then the film production companies will pick their best directors or the film directors that they believe are fit to execute this kind of campaign. And they will ask the film director to write a treatment in a PDF. And so the film director will say something like, hey, agency, hey, Red Bull, this is the best thing I've ever heard. You know, a lot of ass kissing going on there. Best idea I have ever heard. I totally believe this will change everything. And I am very excited to offer you my take on how to best shoot and realize this idea. And then they will go on with, you know, kind of like a style guide. Here's what I picture the film like. Here's what I picture the angles like. Here's what I picture the colors like. Here's what I picture the music like, the sound. They'll even chime in on that. And so whoever's treatment the agency and the client like best, that's the film production company they will choose. So film production companies battle for the right to create that campaign. So once a director is chosen and a film production company is chosen, then it's time for the agency to choose the rest of the production chain. And the rest of the production chain is the editor. That will be separate from a film production company. So they will pick the editing house. They will pick the colorist, so visual effects and colors, and they will pick a music production company to do the sound. Yeah. And sometimes they will pick a post-production studio to mix, to create a broadcast mix. Okay. So for instance, in Canada, the way they do it is like a mix or a music production company that specializes in making music for ads. They will do everything in one place. So they will come up with the music, they will record the voiceover, and they will do the final mix all in one place. In Europe and in other parts of the world, including the US, sometimes those two roles are separated. So making music for the commercial is different from mixing it and from recording VO. And so a different company will actually create the original music and a different company will take care of mixing it and recording voiceover for broadcast. So, but it is the agency most of the time that will choose who they want to come up with, who they want for the music, you know? Yeah. And so very often we have to battle also with other music production companies by creating sketches, musical sketches, which we call demos. Once the campaign is shot and it's in rough edit form, so the commercial kind of has an early version. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we don't even have a commercial to make music to. We have a treatment that the director wrote. The agency might already start saying, okay, guys, show us some music, and whichever music we pick, that's who's going to get the project. And so we battle. Whoever wins, wins. And whoever wins gets to go on the rodeo ride with an agency. And I call it a rodeo because sometimes it is a rodeo. It's a very quick process. It's a very high pressure process. It's a very, it can be a very stressful process because if you can imagine, it's like, if I asked you to make a demo, Andrew, for tomorrow morning, for Nike, millions of people are going to see it. There are 27 people on the project team, each of which will chime in with their opinion, including opinions like, well, my 17-year-old son just didn't think it was cool enough.
Jesus.
I kid you not, man. I kid you not. This stuff happens.
Yeah. Well, so I guess on that note, so when they're going to the the music house, what kind of like statements will they give you in terms of what they're looking for? Like, are they going to say, I mean, would they say something like, we're looking for a kind of poppy song that sounds like it's from the 70s that reminds us of this artist? Or would they give you something more like, we're trying to tell a story of, of hope and then end with like a message of like, I don't know, strength or something, like, are they going to give you references, or are they going to tell you what emotions they want captured?
Yeah. So the ideal brief is that they do all three.
Okay.
So they express the general spirit of the campaign, as in, we want it to feel like, we talked about this before we started the live stream, a hero's journey. So
yeah,
the beginning is uncertain. There are question marks. It's building up the tension. Are we going to make it? Are we not going to make it? I don't know. But believe me, in commercials, it's always a happy ending. So expect that by the 25th second or before of the commercial, if the commercial is 30 seconds, we're going to reach the high point. The energy is going to be at its highest point. Climax, hero overcomes obstacles. Everything is great. Buy this toilet paper or whatever. So the briefing quality differs. There are some excellent briefs that will provide you with, here is the mood boards, here's what the colors will be, the actors, so you can really feel the entire piece of the puzzle and figure out how to translate that into music, including very specific music references, like, we love Tom Waits for this. We want someone with a voice with character, someone who is a rebel, someone who is, a revolutionary, not a plain voice, blah, blah, blah. So yes, we often do get references. Sometimes we don't have references. It really depends on who's briefing you. Yeah. For instance, I work with film directors who have sent me an early version of the commercial that they shot, and they're like, and this is when we have a closer relationship, they will be like, I have no idea. Question mark. And like the film attached. And then I try to help them figure it out. And sometimes, it's like the brief is so thought out that it's actually stifling. And if you listen to some of the famous Hollywood composers ever talk about it in a round circle, there's a bunch of YouTube videos like this where you have like Danny Elfman, Hans Zimmer. I don't remember. It's like a composer roundtable or something like that. You should look it up.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that on YouTube.
Yeah, the first thing they will say is like how they hate the, not that they hate the reference track or the temp track as they call it, but they hate the fact that everybody on the production team makes them stick to it. And so whatever like magical vision Hans Zimmer or Danny Elfman were going to bring to it, their own unique contribution, is stifled by the fact that the whole project team has been watching the edit with the temp track for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know how it is with music, man.
Yeah, it's like when you're a band or an artist and you have a demo for like, let's say you don't record your final version for 2 months or something. When you go to record the final, sometimes you're like, I know this is better, but I don't like it as much. And it's just because of that whole thing of, when you've been listening to something for so long that you get attached to it.
Yeah, so sometimes, I mean, we get this a lot of times where basically by the time it gets to the music production, because they've been sitting in the editing suite, and when I say they, I mean the client, the ad agency, the editor, sometimes the film director, they're all sitting there. The music guys are very, they're not there a lot of the time in the editing suite.
Yeah.
So that's actually quite unfortunate because everything is happening with us being isolated from the process. And then they unload on us basically like, here's what we want you to do. We want the black keys, and it's like, well, why? Well, because we have the black keys on the edit and everybody loves it. But what if you have a different perspective? Very often that perspective is just not going to be sold very easily because they're like, well, the client likes the black keys, so just do the black keys. So very, very often you find that whatever artistic genius you want to bring to the project in a way of a fresh perspective is often neutered, and you kind of become just a crafts person. And if you enter this business, you have to be okay with that. Still, I mean, while we all bemoan this fact, me and my peers in the business, the fact remains that we're sitting in a studio getting paid to turn knobs, to open sessions, to basically create music. I mean, so it's just a bit of a pain that people should be aware of that comes with this job. And it's a difference between being a craftsperson and an artist, or how we say in the masterclass, the difference between being an artisan and an artist. An artisan is somebody who's commissioned to solve a problem for somebody in exchange for money. So you don't always get to be an artist there. Yeah. And if you behave too much like an artist, when your role and the context is really to be an artisan, you're actually going to probably sabotage your career.
Yeah. Because
sometimes people just need you to execute something technically really well that they have in mind. And so
it's like if you think of I guess like a crafts person who maybe makes custom wood furniture or something. I would imagine oftentimes people might go to that craftsman because they like their aesthetic and they like their work and they like what they do. But if they tell them, hey, we want like a dining room chair, and the craftsperson is like, oh, no. I have this vision for this like big throne thing, and it's going to have all these expensive things, and it's going to take this long to do. They might be like, no. I want a dining room chair. I want it to have your style, but I don't want you to turn this into a 3 to 6 month long art project that's going to cost $3,000.
Yeah. And that's where you learn, like when you're a great craftsperson, sometimes you put the feeling aside and you're very objective about, are you solving the specific context, the problem here? So like when I order a dining room chair, the most important thing for me is to be able to sit comfortably and eat my meal.
Yeah.
Right? So if somebody flies into the room with a crazy talking and vision, like, this is the most innovative dining room chair ever, man, and I've been an architect for the last 25 years, or a furniture designer, so I know what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, I just can't sit in it. I mean, it's kind of like that. A lot of musicians tend to hold things very close to their heart. And we talk about killing babies in our business. Literally, that's the expression we use. You got to be willing to kill your baby. I realize you love the piece of music you came up with, but sometimes the client just coldly says, I don't like it. And you just have to let that go and try to understand, why is it that they don't like it? What is the context of the situation? Sometimes it's not even like objectively, sometimes the client is not right objectively. So like you could sit in that chair. You absolutely could sit in that chair. But because someone else on the project team who has more influence hates oak, they've always hated oak trees. That's the reason why this chair is not going to be sold. Yeah. And so, you kind of become hip to that game as a music producer, which is my role.
Yeah.
You start seeing the bigger picture, the context, the politics, the entire chessboard. And that's my job to do. But the musicians that I hire to work with me, they're isolated from that. So they don't see that. So it's my job to kind of buffer them from that and to explain to them, look, I know you think this is the right direction, but here is why we got to do something different. And it's not for the reasons that you think. Yeah. It's like some stupid political reason or whatever.
It sounds like it's a lot like the agency. They kind of function to the music like curators, like how artists might pitch to curators on playlists or YouTube channels or blogs. On one hand, it might be because your song isn't good, and it might just be because they don't like, your song sounded too hip hoppy and they hate hip hop. And like there's personal emotions in it. There's pride in it. Yeah. And it's not always because the song's bad. And so it sounds like that's kind of like one parallel you could make with that. And artists, I would imagine, have to go through a lot of rejection in your industry, because I would imagine if you're pitching to a couple artists, or not I guess composers would be probably more accurate.
Artists too. I mean, I work with artists who double as songwriters for the advertising world, even though they have
Okay.
record deals, they got the whole
Yeah.
art thing going on. That's very much a case. Yeah.
So when you're pitching to them, you're probably going to them because of the pitch you got. You think they'll be a good fit for it, but you're probably not just going to them, right? You're probably going to like 5 people to make sure that you can get 1 or 2 decent demos. And
you try to distribute it so that it's not the same 5 sounds. Like, it's like if I can slice the campaign through 5 different interpretations, I'm going to go, well, what if we just did like sound designy music? So then I go to the sound designy expert, and then, let's do indie singer-songwriter, folky kind of stuff. So then who's the best person I have in mind for that? Let's go to that. And then, you know what? This spot could also be like maybe without a vocal, just like a hybrid electronic orchestral piece. Let's try that. So so you're right. We go to 5. I try to not to go to so many people, but it depends on the context. Sometimes the client says, I want a lot of options. So you will literally have like 3 music production companies, each reaching out to like 5 different people. And so it's very likely that your track is not going to make the end, but the final spot. But
how does the payment work for that? Because you mentioned that artists will get paid for their demo, but I would imagine that if you, as the music house, lose the contract, you're not getting paid at all from the ad agency, or do they give you some kind of money just to like kick off?
Sometimes they do. Yeah, sometimes they do. So sometimes when, for instance, I have a friend at the agency and they want me to pitch, but the client wants to have selections from 3 different companies, but they will organize a demo budget. So therefore, I have money to pay composers. And the average demo fee, and this is something I talk about like in the introductory free training that we do for people who want to find out more about the world, it's $250. That's the average that you get. But keep in mind, in order to get that $250 to create a 30-second demo, you have to be already on a certain level as far as the relationship you have with the music house. So if you're just a beginner, and I don't mean like you're just beginning to make music, because then it's very likely that you're not ready yet to showcase your stuff to the music houses, but you're a beginner in our world, which means you could be advanced in music making. You could be giving people goosebumps, but you just don't know anybody in our world yet. First, you have to do that. You have to say, hey, my music gives goosebumps, man. Like, here, listen. And I believe it fits the advertising context. I've done my research. I've looked at your reel. I've looked at what brands are doing. I've looked at all these music production companies. I really believe my sound is a great intersection between the sound that I'm doing, but also what the brands are using. If the email is written right and you present me with a link that doesn't show me like 50 things, but it shows me something very, very strong in the first 5 seconds, then you buy yourself the next 5 seconds. And then the next 5 seconds is still grooving me. Like my head is moving, my soul is moving, my body's moving. And most importantly, as a music producer, I'm going, okay, I can picture this. I can picture this Volvo commercial, or I can picture some actress, walking in a long gown, advertising a perfume, or I can picture whatever, but this is how I think. So what you send to music producers has to be contextually relevant. Right. I don't care if you think this is the best thing in the world. If it doesn't spark in the music producer's head the correlation with a campaign, like they can't picture it in the campaign, it doesn't matter how good your music is. We're just like, I'll say that's great, but like I don't have any immediate fit for you application. But if I do, then I might try somebody I've never worked with, but I probably won't pay them a demo fee in the beginning because it's kind of like insurance. I need to make sure that I first pay the folks who have the highest chance of delivering me something that, like based on our track record, I will trust them to deliver something that I expect will be in the range for which I hired them for. But yeah, I'm always trying new folks. It's just that, yeah, I'm not gonna spend the demo budget on someone brand new because I have no idea, are they gonna even deliver? Like,
Yeah.
what if they're late 24 hours of the demo because they're so naive about this business that they basically email me a day later going, oh, I typed in the wrong email. Sorry, man. And here's the demo. And it's like, well, it's not on picture. Why isn't it on picture? Oh, well, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
so this is something that we really like, like we grill people, man. It's almost like military training in our academy, just to snap musicians out of this like loosey goosey world.
Yeah.
And put them in this world where it's like, hey, wake up, make your bed, do 50 push-ups, go in the studio, make the magic, but then be diligent and reliable as hell. Because it's amazing when I ask people in the business, like, who do you respond to when musicians email you? And I'm asking my peers, like people who hire freelance musicians. And the number one word that keeps coming up, apart from, yeah, their music gives me goosebumps, they're incredible craftspeople, reliable.
Yeah.
I mean, really? Is that the number one thing? And it's like, yeah, because without reliable, what good is your freaking superpower?
Yeah.
If your demo's a day late, like,
this is pretty much like, unless a person is like absolutely phenomenal, that's like the one, I guess, life skill that's probably valued about everything else. If someone is like 20% worse than, someone else who is fabulous, but every time you hit them up, they meet their deadline, they deliver a consistent product in the format you want, on the time they want, you probably hire that person. Like, let's say you had to bring someone on, it was more like a hiring process. Like, a company is like, it just outside of music is more likely to hire someone reliable than talented necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, we need both. You
Yeah.
know, we just I can't compromise on quality or goosebumps. The goal is always
sense.
goosebumps. The goal is always goosebumps.
But if Goosebumps 2 days late, it's probably a no-go.
And I mean, we can't. Things move really fast, and again, there's a lot of pressure, and you gotta, like, I think this is what separates amateurs from pro musicians. I just see a different kind of human being in a pro musician or somebody who I know will be one in the future. And it's the ability to perform without applause for a long ass time, like the Beatles did in Germany. Or like when you see a great performer and the audience is completely dead, but they just deliver, without any kind of like need to be inspired by the audience. Sure, if you have the audience and the magic is there, like it's the right evening, the right concert, it makes the concert even better. But like, professionals don't count on that. They have built kind of a regimen of routines and rituals that stabilize their psychology, where the performance is not linked to what people say about it. So just because I send 100 emails and I don't get a reply, not a single reply, that doesn't influence the fact that I'm going to send another 100 emails next week. That's what I notice is the difference between like amateurs and pros. And it's the same with music, most people will not make it, the final campaign, but that's not going to like influence the enthusiasm and the determination and the energy they enter the studio with. Right. You see what I mean? Or another example, say I pick your demo and, everyone's like, this is a great demo, unbelievable, Andrew. Holy shit. Who is this Andrew Southworth guy? Wow. This campaign will be like, we're going to win a Nobel Peace Prize, guys. It's like, okay, guys, calm down. Everyone take a deep breath. And then after that initial high five and the champagne spilling all over the mixer in the studio, comes the inevitable email a day later. Okay, guys, so actually we had a chat with our accounting team and with the senior vice president of branding at the agency. And we're thinking now, that lead that you have there, maybe it's kind of overpowering the spot. It's like, oh, great. That's the lead that Andrew's sound design that never existed before. And that was the reason why everyone like started going nuts.
Yeah.
So now somebody said something about the lead. Now we gotta, okay, so it's like death by 1,000 cuts, right? The lead, okay, let's remove that. Oh, maybe the drums are too loud. And then it's like slowly being reduced, right?
Yeah.
And so the trick here for you, Andrew, is not to lose your spirit in the studio.
Right.
Because they're slowly chopping apart your precious child.
Yeah.
The things you love most are disappearing. The whole trick is to be able to go in the studio and still have the enthusiasm, the willingness to create the best thing that you can under the circumstances, and accepting the fact that this is the way it's going. The other thing I will say about rejection is that just because your demo doesn't make it, it doesn't mean that it's not remarkable. Maybe that it's not the best demo out of the whole bunch. But just because it's the best demo out of the whole bunch doesn't mean it's going to make the cut. Because again, the demos that make the cut, they make the cut for whatever reason. It could be political, it could be drama, it could be this, it could be that.
Yeah.
So don't concern yourself with the fact that people don't answer your email. Okay? Don't concern yourself with the fact that the demo didn't make it. The story that creative people tell themselves right away, because we're so sensitive to our environment, we pick up vibes and energy off of other people, right? That's why we're kind of insecure sometimes about our work. Yeah. The story that you tell yourself immediately when that happens is, oh, my demo wasn't good enough. Or, oh, my email was weak, or my website is terrible. That's why they didn't reply to me. Of course, you must keep your stuff world class. So your website should be world class. Your email should be world class, crisp, short, compelling, to the point, showing the best music right away. But when it is, and this is a story that I've heard countless times from people who are in the business, the way they got in, don't assume that because like people don't like you because they didn't reply. We're busy. Yeah. People are busy. They just didn't have time. The art of the follow-up is everything. Okay. Yeah. That's what separates the pros from amateurs. If you follow up 5 times, I guarantee you people are going to start getting back to you. And also the follow-up is something that shows other people that you're serious. It's almost like a testing ground for the hero's journey. It's like, are you cut out for this business? Because if you sent one email if you sent 100 emails, let's say, you didn't get a reply and you gave up, that shows me your psychology is not where it needs to be.
Yeah. It's kind of like what they do in college for engineering is like year 1 and 2, or really year 1 is kind of like the weed out year. Like they basically, most students will find that it's usually that first row of engineering classes are arbitrarily hard just to like separate the men from the boys, so to speak.
That's right. Yep.
And it's kind of like that in music too. I mean, like there's really no such thing as an overnight success story as an artist either. I mean, most artists who make it might spend a decade grinding and just like not caring what people think before they finally start, being like what you consider like a successful artist. So it's kind of, every industry, I feel like that's true. And there's people there's a big difference between wanting to do something, being passionate about it, and having the work ethic to do it. Because if you don't do it, there's someone else that's and they're gonna get the gig,
Yeah, it's absolutely no effort on your part to dream. And sometimes people confuse dreaming and ambition with the raw, dirty work that you just have to put in. And like, again, and we have a whole module dedicated to this in our academy, the foundations module, which is like, what is the journey from artisan or from amateur to artisan?
Yeah.
And, the difference is, just to summarize, amateurs dream. And what do they do next? They dabble. The amateur never commits to a destination. They never commit to a decision. It's almost like the dreaming is fun, noodling, dabbling is fun, but they know deep down, they know what they're avoiding. It's like, you know what? To commit to your decision to try to be a full-time musician or to try to like be a remarkable craftsperson, that's painful. You're signing up for pain. You're signing up for pain. I mean, I always tell people the meaning of the word passion, I believe it comes from a Latin word, which is pain, suffering, actually. It's suffering. So the root, the etymology of the word passion is suffering.
Yeah.
So you got to suffer for your passion. And, you know, you read a biography of any remarkable musical artist, you see there's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of rejection.
Even when you look at something like, you know, a biography of like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, like they had to fail and suffer a whole lot before they became, you know, some of the most successful people in human history.
Absolutely. But let me tell you this. You think that pain is bad? Of facing rejection, of enduring the silence, of getting like no answer, no kind of recognition? You think that's bad? You wait till you're about to like breathe your last breath and you realize that you actually haven't taken on the thing you knew deep down in your consciousness and your soul was the thing you wanted most, or the thing that you believed you were called to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, you rationalized whatever. You told yourself all kinds of stories. And now you're laying there going, yeah, you're not going to probably get another chance unless you believe in reincarnation.
Yeah.
But, you know, to the best of my knowledge, we only live once, man. So, hey, it's actually, you know, it's like the same as going to the gym. Do I like going to the gym? No. Do I like leaving the gym? Yeah. Am I better for it? Probably. You know? Yeah. So it's the same with music, man. I feel like, hey, I signed up for this. And actually, when I'm telling the story to my grandkids, what the hell kind of story would it be if I didn't have those early moments where people were clowning me, where people were not answering my email, where I was basically like losing every single pitch for the first year or so, but everyone going, oh man, your music is great. It's great. But like I had nothing to show for it. But I just made a decision. And that's the difference between an amateur and a pro is a pro makes a decision. That's number one. Number two, they have a destination. Yeah. I believe a lot of musicians do not feel a momentum in their career because they simply don't have a destination. So they get into their studio at the end of their day job every day. And I know that feeling because I was there, guys. So I'm speaking from experience. And what do? You try to work on your music career. But what does that mean in reality? Yeah. You turn on your Moog, you program a bunch of patches, you kind of nod your head, you go, yeah, this is awesome. And then what? And then you go to work the next day and then you come back and you haven't actually laid down a brick. There's no wall forming. Like you're basically putting a different brick in a different place every single time because you don't have a destination. So
that's a really, really good point that I can imagine a lot of people can relate to. Since I'd imagine most of the people watching are from the artist side, you know, they're not coming from the world you live in. Like, you know, there's a big difference between making music for fun and coming up with your goals that you're trying to commit to. And you can do both. I mean, last night I fired up the Eurorack thing and I just dabbled. And that was, you know, that was a much different story than when I think, okay, I have to get a song out. I need to come up with a great chord progression with a melody idea so that tomorrow I can track it and then I can get it finished by this week so that I can have it online by like 2 weeks from now. And then everything that I do, I try to have a specific goal. And that way it's like there's always something pulling you forward. Like I want to release this song and I want it to hit, you know, 100,000 streams or whatever. And you
let me put it this way. If you didn't have the destination, the dabbling on your Eurorack might be nothing but temporary amusement of yourself. Don't get me wrong here. You need to be inspired in a studio. Music is not selling vacuum cleaners or real estate. we want to hear magic coming out of the speaker that will give goosebumps to our audience. In order to create magic, you have to be inspired. Okay. Yeah. I'm not trying to, we need to do that also. In addition to being craftspeople, we need to deliver magic. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the destination, then your dabbling serves no higher purpose. But say yesterday you turned on your Euro rack and you said, you know what, man, I love my life. And you tell yourself, Andrew, I'm feeling you, man. You're doing this. You got the Euro rack. You got the Canon set up. You got the YouTube channel. You're putting in the work. You're showing up. You're committing to putting out the videos. It's all happening. You have every right to feel good about yourself. And guess what? In that moment, when your serotonin is firing, your dopamine is firing because you're living the life that you feel called to live, that's when you have the greatest chance of actually like doing something incredible in the studio. You know, it's not when you're entering the studio with resistance or whatever. And then you have a magical moment on the Euro rack. A bunch of things come together and you're like, holy shit, this is incredible. And guess what? Now this moment serves your higher purpose, your destination. You can actually take that brick that you built that happened by accident when you were having fun, and you can stack it on the way to your destination. Whereas a musician without a goal, without a destination, without a release date, what will they do with that brick? They'll place it somewhere, but in 5 years of placing those bricks, you'll basically have bricks scattered all over the place and no structure, body of work. No real body of work that you can show your grandkids and go, hey kids, you know what? It turns out that I could never leave my day job in the end. And maybe it was best. I did the day job, but you know, guys, I never freaking gave up. I never gave up. I did an hour in the studio every single day. I released the albums. You hear stories like this all the time. You hear stories of like people who made 30 grand a year and became millionaires. Why? Because they were systematic, but with their savings and investments. You hear stories of people who made hundreds of thousands who don't have anything to show for it. So I do believe that it's not, you know, it's not making it as a full-time musician that's going to be maybe the ultimate reward for you. Maybe you never make it as a full-time musician. That's the brutal truth. Yeah. But what's going to hurt you a lot is if you didn't even try, if you didn't commit, if you didn't set aside, you know, an hour or 90 minutes or even half an hour to the thing that you love most and actually committed to doing something with it. It could be as small as a single. Yeah. Could be an EP. It could be that you're going to stream something, your music making process, whatever. But share your damn musical gift with the world. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing that you're describing, it's you know, this kind of like interview series that I've done where I talk to people who have like found success in some niche in the music world. You know, the most common thing I've noticed is that the people who have hit those success have like one thing in common. It's that they just did the thing that they wanted to do a lot. And when it didn't go well, they just kept doing it until it did go well. And, absolutely, you know, like the you know, the people who release music for years without things, you know, things happening, they keep doing it. The guy that Daniel Wall on my channel who has like 500,000 people on TikTok. He said he just released 3 videos a day for like a year until he finally blew up. And then the you know, for some friends of mine who are DJs and who teach courses, like they just kept doing it until they got there. And when people ask me, Andrew, how do I grow a YouTube channel? You know, I tell them, well, I've been doing this for like more than a decade and I have like 600 videos up. I mean, I kind of just did what you just described. I put out a video, well, for the last 3 years at least a video or 2 a week for 3 years. I mean, like it's kind of like if you want to do something, you might get lucky, like Peter McKinnon. I mean, he's talented, but he definitely blew up faster than most people. Most of the time, you're going to have to.
You shouldn't look at Peter McKinnon. I mean, you know, it's like it depends what your goals are, really, but you got to love what you're doing. So if you ever like get into music because, you know, it's a moneymaker, I think
the
there's
wrong
better
industry. If that's
I
the
think
case.
there's better ways to make money. Let me just put it to you that way.
Yeah.
The reason why you might want to consider like our business, what we do, which is like you're sitting in a studio all day, you're crafting stuff on commission. Some of it might be something you like. Often it'll be like a toilet paper commercial that you don't like. Maybe we'll get paid for it, at least a demo fee.
Yeah.
You know, it's still like sometimes people will say under my ads, like the haters, when we advertise the Academy, they'll say, oh, great. Here is a guy who's trying to ruin music forever because you tell musicians to do advertising and work with brands which are evil. So that's basically selling out. I have a different philosophy about it. You know, I believe that, well, first of all, tell Ray Charles that he's a sellout. Tell David Bowie he's a sellout. Tell Brian Eno he's a sellout because all of these people work with brands. So, I mean, I don't think that they've suffered with their integrity in any way by doing the right brand campaign.
Yeah.
But I believe selling out is basically sacrificing what you believe you're called to do and choosing the comfortable way, like a steady paycheck, for instance. And so spending all of your precious life sitting doing something that you don't even believe in and then leaving what you love, but it hurts the most until last. Because you want to go through the pain or whatever. What if nobody watches your videos or watches your TikTok? So I believe that's selling out. I personally would rather sit in a studio all day and get paid for it. And I don't always have to enjoy myself in the studio because this is like when you take music on as a full-time career, it's not all lollipops, man.
Yeah.
It's not. But when I do the final calculation, still, would I rather be in a corporate cubicle right now, environment that I know because I used to be there, or would I rather be here talking to you and then doing a conference call with an agency and then talking to some of the musicians that I work with going, oh man, can you believe this? Not this reference again. And all right, let's make something. And then making music, you know? I think I'm okay with my life choices. But I'm constantly too on the journey. You know, this is why I started teaching people about my business because I'd done close to 1,000 freaking campaigns. And when you do that, like I was not feeling inspired anymore. Like there was nothing that I was learning in each of these campaigns. Yeah. And so I'm like, what am I going to do, you know, to keep myself motivated? And, I'm really glad that I decided to start teaching this. We're one of the only like people who are actually involved in the business and teaching it.
Yeah,
a lot of people
when we first talked, I like did some research to see like what else was online, and there's literally like your course, and that's it, and then you talking to other people other than me. Like it's pretty much just you, and I would imagine part of it is that, you know, either the people doing it just aren't the types of people who enjoy teaching, or two, they don't want to kind of like, you know, give away their secrets or whatever. You know,
there's a lot of that.
A lot of people are afraid.
I just didn't care when I started doing this because I was so bored with producing commercials in a way that I was like, well, it's nothing to me to reveal the secrets, you know? And I actually never believed that people say, oh, you're creating more competition for yourself. I don't believe that. And I'm not even creating direct competition for myself because I'm a music producer. So the people who enroll in our academy are actually musicians who I might work with in the future. So I'm actually increasing my talent pool, and I'm actually having an edge over my competition because they keep working with rosters that they know. Yeah. But I have access to like now 500 musicians from all over the world who are giving me really interesting perspectives, sounds, and takes. So this thing really kind of inspired me again, you know, because when you have to talk about your business, you get excited about it again. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't know. Sometimes you take it for granted, you know, but when I started teaching it, like from basics, I was like, hey, I'm having a good time doing this. I'm watching musicians going, my God, I've been making music for 20 years. I have never thought about this. I have never entertained the possibility. And yeah, so
yeah. By the way, the course is like it's nuts how gigantic it is. Like I was not expecting it. Like I think I did the math. So like module 1 is like 3.5 hours long, and there's 7 modules, and then there's a bonus module, and I think the bonus module is 10 hours long. So it's like there's a good like 30-40 hours of material.
It's 40 hours.
It's 40 hours, like
90 videos. I mean, the funny thing is, when I first started thinking about making the course, I thought it was going to be like a 7-hour course, literally. But then, like, as I was making it, and I was scared shitless, man, when I was making this course. Do you know why? Because it was the first time that I was not sending an invoice to an agency or a brand, which is faithless to me. I give 0 F's, okay, about charging somebody thousands of dollars from an agency. It's not their money.
Yeah.
It's the brand's money, right? But this is different. I had people literally emailing me going, okay, so I'm spending my last money on this course, hoping it will revitalize my career. And I was like, whoa. Wait, but it really motivated me to go, okay, I'm not going to have a single person go through this thing and go, somehow I'm underwhelmed, Tommy Zee. I gave you my credit card and man, I kind of feel let down. You know what? I've been there. I spend thousands of dollars on online courses. I do. Yeah. Even to this day, I do. But the one thing that rubs me the wrong way is when I see the face of the person inviting me into the course all over my Instagram or Facebook, which is what I'm doing too also, by the way. But then when I walk in to their house, they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we said we're not going to do. Like everybody that enrolls, they're going to feel high touch. Every time you send me an email, you're going to get a reply. Every time you do the homework assignment, so we have people scoring real ads. Yeah. We're going to take a look.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see like at least a few of the modules. Once you get into like the whole music making process and giving people like actual things to score to, like you actually say, send me, I would imagine the same way that you might pitch to a musician, send me this format and send me this thing. And,
because I want people, like I told you, man, we're training folks to be soldiers, like craftspeople. So what good would the masterclass be if it's like, it's like when I watch Hans Zimmer's masterclass or Timbaland or Deadmau5. It's nice that they're shot in 4K and the camera's moving and their studios are beautiful and they're saying all sorts of shit. But do I actually, am I any further ahead when I started this thing? I'm not sure.
I think the answer is no. Like I watched some of those master classes and I'm like, these feel more like documentaries about the artist and with some meaningful life lessons than like.
It's cool. And for the price point, I feel that it's worth it. Like, I enjoyed my experience with the masterclass, but we're something totally different. We're literally
you're actually like reviewing people's music and
this is a boot camp. Like module 1, foundations. We're going to get your psychology right, your mind right, your office, your studio right, your routines, your rituals.
Yeah.
That's first. Again, I told you, man, I thought this was going to be 7 hours, but just the opening module alone is like 3 hours. And that's because I pictured a musician sitting across from me and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do in order for me to sleep at night knowing that there's nothing I left untouched and that they don't come back to me like half a year later going, oh, dude, I didn't realize how hard it was. And it's like, how hard it was because we covered it in module 1. And I told you, it's going to be a goddamn roller coaster and you better get your mind ready for this. And here's how you can create an antidote for the roller coaster. And it's another R word. It's called routine. So we talk about all this. Then we go, okay, understand the business. That's module 2. You're going to understand the business just like an insider will understand the business. There's nothing they will know that you don't know. And then, okay, that's all theory. But now I need you to actually start making some music for the commercials. And we have a lot of musicians who are really good music makers, really, really talented. But as soon as they import a movie file into their DAW, they're like, oh my God, this is different. Like I gotta start with an intro, but then suddenly veer into the chorus after 5 seconds. And then I gotta go into a bridge like 7 seconds later because the scene calls for it. How do I do that? So we go through the making, and I give feedback, and I'm nice about the feedback, but I it's like true love is when you don't sugarcoat it. When your kid does something wrong, if you really care, you're going to let them know, because otherwise they can't correct. They can't make the correction. So I tell people straight away, like as soon as I press play and I hear that their sound libraries are outdated, it's like, pause. Big no-no. Advertising is all about sounding fresh. Yeah. If I hear that you're, using sound libraries from 1997, you're finished immediately. So please, Project Sam, Spitfire, here's a list of libraries that pros are using.
I was very surprised that, like, just by coincidence, I already had a lot of like the libraries. You were mentioning like, oh, get like Spitfire audio, and I'm like, I have almost every single library. It's just because I get to bet, as a YouTube channel, they like send me their libraries often, and they're freaking great. And I bought a bunch back in the day when I was curious about this stuff.
They're very good. Arcade, the Output Suite. The entire Output Suite, guys, if you're listening, you're interested in what advertising people are using.
Substance
Substance and Rev and what else is there?
I have a video on this channel if anyone's curious. I think I called it like best sample library, best contact libraries in every category. Yeah. If you check that, just like search my channel, Best Contact Libraries, and you'll see essentially most of the things that you've mentioned so far. Like that's just basically a list of modern great libraries.
Yeah. Libraries. But keep in mind this, okay? Like it's not as if you're gonna get the Output Suite and then you're like, okay, now I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Your gear should be the appropriate stuff that you need to express your unique superpower.
Yeah.
So you might not even have Output Suite and you don't give a shit because you're a singer-songwriter who has an old dusty guitar and you've learned how to record it well and you have a magical voice, and that's what's going to give everybody goosebumps. Well, guess what? Output Suite, what do you need it for?
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of like design your tools to express your superpower, and don't just load up on all kinds of tools where you get analysis paralysis. You don't even know what to use.
Like some people might never use orchestral libraries either.
Some people might not I mean, if you don't aspire to be an orchestral, why would you need Spitfire? You're not, so it should be a reflection of your tools. So we go through that. We do, we literally tell people how to build a website. And the reason is, again, I pictured a musician in front of me, and I've seen so many bad musician websites that I'm like, if I don't teach people how to build a website that music producers in our business will actually respond to, what good is everything else? Because that's your business card. So I literally need to like show people how to present themselves and their music, how to put together their reel. We even have a goddamn directory of the music production companies in our industry, which is constantly updated by our students. There's literally nothing there that like, if you go through the steps and you have the talent and you don't give up, I mean, you really have, there's nothing else that we can teach you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah. So I believe, I'm kind of glad, I was scared when I was making this, because I think fear, it kind of drives you to perfection,
Yeah.
Like I really didn't want, and to this day, we still have not had a single refund from somebody who said, I want my money back because you know what, man, your ads were real effective, but like, man, your masterclass was underwhelming.
They said that, they'd be lying. Just based on what I've seen.
I 2 weeks ago, I had a request for a refund, and the person said, I would like to request my money back because I'm not fully satisfied. And this is something that I think they picked up from the copy that we have on the website. Like if you're not fully satisfied. So then I was like, holy shit, man, we've been running for a year and a half now. Somebody's not satisfied. Okay. So I wrote back. I'm like, okay, your refund is being processed, but please tell me what was it, that you weren't satisfied with. And I'm asking because I want to fix this. And they said, I'm sorry, my English not so good. I just can't take this on. This is much bigger than I thought, whatever they said in their broken English. So I was like, oh, okay, thank goodness. But, we're vigilant. Like if somebody, if I ever get someone saying I'm not satisfied and the reason is legit, we're on top of that. Yeah. Like if we miss something or whatever, we're on top of that. But luckily, all the refunds have been either because, and we have a very low refund rate, by the way, like 1% or something like that. Yeah. But it will be like, hey, COVID hit me really hard. I mean, I'm sorry to do this because I'm enjoying my experience here and I hope to be back. That's often what we get. But like, honestly, I'm just feeling pinched. Yeah. And we will never give people a hard time about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so right away, it's like, hey, man, hope things are better. And yeah, whenever you want to come back, come back. So yeah.
It's a good way to do it. I mean, I've talked to several people who do courses and generally everyone has that approach just because it's better to have, lose that one sale, at least temporarily, and have that person be happy than have them turn into a hate advocate for your company in your course because they came up to you and they put their heart on their sleeve and you basically rejected them. Then it's much better to, lose the sale and save face, I guess.
You know what? We're dealing with human beings.
Yeah.
And I always look at my life in reverse. So I'm laying under a streetcar and that's it, man. This is it, So what do I think about most? And one of the things that I will think about will be what's next, for sure. What's next, The second thing I'll think about is my family.
One thing before you continue that, some people are asking, and one person says he has to go and he doesn't even know where to find out more about your class and course. So could you just quickly drop with what they can search for to
makingmusicforbrands.com, guys. It's as simple as that. Yeah. makingmusicforbrands.com. If you want to check out the work that we do, TommyZee.co. Very simple. Yeah. TommyZee.co. That's where you'll see the production company. You can send me an email if you're interested, but you're not sure. We're not desperate for students. We're not desperate to get people like, yeah, you have to buy right now. We do like if you watch the free training, which we have on our website, we do squeeze people a little bit, put some fire under their butt to get them to commit, So we do offer a kind of a time discount for people who go through our free training. But yeah, we don't, this is just to mobilize people, if somebody came to me like later, and people do actually, they say, you know what? It's great that you're giving out a discount in this time frame, but like I need to get my crap together, so I'll be back in like 2 months. I'm like, just email us. Email me. Don't worry, man. We're gonna remember. So I want to give a shout out to Lucky too. Lucky Bamba, great musician, part of our family. He just sent me a photo. He's watching the stream.
Oh, cool.
So Lucky is my co-host on the interviews with insiders that we do. So we do like live calls inside of our pro community, and the pro community is like a very special group of our masterclass students that we've identified as people who have a good chance of turning pro. because they're diligent, they communicate well, their music is up to par. And even if it's not, we see that they're really, really striving and they're serious about improving their craft.
Yeah.
So we basically bring in like industry insiders from our business. We did a call yesterday actually with Asha Ivanovich, who's composer out in LA. She makes music for brands. She also has her solo artist career going. So we bring folks like that in and they tell us about their day in the life, what's going on. People ask them questions, what is life like? How do you deal with the rejection? All that stuff, which people want to know. So